Come on with me as we look at tents. Well, hey y'all, Dan here. Thanks for joining me. Just out for a short day hike. A lot of folks asking me how to get into hiking, especially as we get up in age. You know, what do we need to consider? Can we even do this? Is it too late? Just real quick answers on the last two questions. Yes, we can do it. No, it's not too late. I've got friends that didn't start hiking until they were 72 and in their 80s and still enjoying getting out and hiking. So it is not too late. But how do we get started? This last video was looking at the big three: our tent, our sleeping system, the sleeping bag, the sleeping mattress, the pillow, and then also our backpack. And today I want to focus on a question that Galen asked me. He asked me how I pitched my tent. He said he's seen me show it in a couple of videos, but I always speed them up because I find it sort of, I don't want to bore you with the mundane setup, but he wants to know how long it takes. So today I'm going to do that. I'm going to take and pitch my tent and show you how long it takes to do it. I'm also going to compare a couple of tents that I have to show you the difference between a tent that's like mine that I use normally, that's pitched with my trekking poles, and then what's called a freestanding tent, which has a system of poles that comes with the tent and you can set it up. What's best? Well, we'll find out. So come on with me as we look at tents. Okay, these are the two tents that we're going to look at today. This first tent is made by Z-Packs. It's called the Duplex. It's made out of a very light, very strong material called Dyneema. Comes in about just over a pound, and it uses trekking poles to set it up, which is one of the ways that they save a lot of weight. So we're going to look at it second. This first tent is called, and I'll get this wrong, a Bissina tent. It comes in at about 3 pounds. So it's about 2 pounds heavier than my Duplex tent. It is a freestanding tent, which means that it has poles to help you set it up and erect it. It's not a bad tent. Let me also give you some price points. This tent you can get from Amazon. Right now I think it's just under $70. The Duplex tent that I showed you is $600. So there is a big difference in saving weight. But I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you about the first trekking pole tent that I bought for a fraction of the price. It's a Lanshan or Lanshan 2 tent. I think now they have the Lanshan 2 Pro. The Lanshan 2 that I bought was a double wall tent. It had a mesh interior and it had the outside, similar to the tent that I showed in the first part of this video. But the Lanshan is also set up with your trekking poles, very similar to the Duplex tent. In fact, if you follow the same instructions of the Duplex tent of how to set it up, you can set up the Lanshan. It's quick, it's easy. Don't let the looks intimidate you. It's not that hard. There's other ways to save weight. This may not be the tent, but this is a good alternative, and I'll show you how to set it up. You don't always need a footprint. A footprint is a material that goes down on the ground, covers rocks, thorns, sticks, helps protect the bottom of your tent from being damaged. I really like it. This tent rolls out like all tents do. You spread it out. On the ground. and you take your poles. Different tents will have different configurations of their poles. This one is an aluminum pole, and it has it's 2 poles, and they just sort of insert. Just show you. You just set it up, and they slip inside one another. They're going to crisscross the tent. So I just take and lay them out. Some poles are carbon fiber, some poles are aluminum. This tent has a rain fly that snaps in place. And you have to think about, if it's raining, how am I going to set up my tent? It's not raining today. I'm going to take my rain fly off, but you can see that when I do that, this top is just a mesh and it's exposed. So if it's raining, the rain's going to fall in there. If it was raining, I would try to put these poles in through these sleeves in the tent. If it were raining, I would try to put these sleeves in, or these poles in, with the rain cover still in place. That makes it a little bit harder, but it's not impossible. And it comes out on the other end. When the pole is through, you'll see different ways of doing it, but this particular tent has a little grommet here. You take and you stick that into the grommet just like that. This side is the same. You just stick it into the grommet. With that done, now you can raise the tent up.
And yesterday is far away, and tomorrow you'll be gone. It wasn't supposed to go this way. Sweet, 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 sweet Thursday.
Your tent is now stood up, and with that, you can take your rain fly and you pull it over the tent. Snap the rain fly here.
People, maybe more, out on the highway in a dusty storm.
This is called a freestanding tent. The tent is now pitched, but it's not attached to the ground, and in strong winds it will come up and it'll fly away. So you always stake it out, because we never know when the winds will start blowing. So let's do that now.
Over the border they can get us there. Between the two of us, we'll make it if we share. And yesterday is far away, and tomorrow you'll be gone. It wasn't supposed to go this way. Sweet, 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 sweet Thursday.
Take these doors and pull them back. They have a little loop here to hold them in place. See, that really didn't take very long to set this up. Now, the nice thing about this tent is that it's made of a seal nylon. It does have a lot of seams, so look at this. And then what you do is there is a seam sealer, and it's a liquid, and you just take and paint it on with a thin paintbrush over these seams. What I do is I paint all of the seams on the outside and on the inside. This tent is considered a double wall tent because it has a rain fly and then it has this mesh interior. One advantage of a double wall tent is that you tend to have less condensation in a double wall tent. My duplex is a single wall tent, and some folks have a lot of condensation problems with it in the night, especially if it's raining and it's all zipped up and the air that you breathe has moisture in it, and that collects on the interior wall of the tent. Honestly, I have never had problem with that, but I'll show you a trick as to why I think that I've been able to avoid the condensation problem. As soon as I say that, my next trip, I'm sure that I'm going to be drenched with condensation from the inside of my tent. But so far, and I've put about almost 1,000 miles in that duplex, and I've never had a condensation problem with it. The thing I do like about this tent is that it has a wide bathtub floor. You can see that it comes up pretty tall, about 6 inches all the way around. It is plenty roomy for me. This is considered a two-person tent. Now, a two-person tent on any of these backpacking tents is going to be a snug fit for two people. I've never had two people in one of my tents. But what I do like about them over a one-person tent is I can get my backpack and all of my gear inside the tent. And so each night I bring it into the tent, I lay it all out, and then in the morning I can repack, and it just helps me stay organized as I go through my hike. It has two doors. It has a door on this side. It also has a door on this side, which is nice to be able to go out on either side. I do like this tent. Great price. It has served me well on the times that I've used it, and I've used it probably a half a dozen times, and it's been good for me. But it is heavy. Again, you know, it's about 3.5 pounds, where my duplex is slightly over 1 pound. And as we talk more about gear, we're going to talk more about weight. And for my old bones, weight means a lot. I'm not an ultralight hiker. I don't intend to ever be an ultralight hiker. I'm not that concerned about cutting every ounce, every gram out of my gear. But I do like to hike as light as I can, staying comfortable. I like to be comfortable when I go hiking and when I sleep at night. This is the first tent. So let me show you the second. Okay, this is the second tent. This is my Z-Packs duplex tent. And like I said before, this is a trekking pole tent. I love to have equipment that has dual purposes. And so that's why for this tent, to be able to use my trekking poles, dual purposes help reduce the overall weight. Let's set this tent up real quick. Where's that? several suggestions on setting this tent up. What I have found for myself is that it works best when I first stake out the corners. So I get my tent stakes out, start to stake out the corners. The lines don't have to be taut as you do this. It helps to have a rock or a stick that you can hammer your stakes in if the ground is too hard to rock. Bring my stakes out at about a 45-degree angle from the corner of the tent. They don't have to be taut. Keep them loose. We'll adjust that later. Adjusted. Same thing on the other side. I forgot to mention is I set my trekking poles at 120 centimeters tall. That's what I walk with anyway. But that height allows me to do something that's sort of the trick that I talked about that helps me reduce condensation in the tent. So I set mine at 120 centimeters. Once it's set, the poles are up, you start to pull to make this taut. Sides. Tightens the tent up all the way around. Final thing that we do is we stake out the sides. Staking out the sides helps give me more room on the inside of the tent. I'll show you that in a moment. Tent's pitched. Inside. This is a single wall tent. As you see, there's some mesh here on the front by the doors, but there's no mesh here. This is just the same material that's the outside of the tent as on the inside of the tent. It does have this feature, or this little cord, so that when all your gear is in here, it pulls this down a little bit. And as you can see, there's mesh here. And the idea is that your condensation will roll down and go out of the tent around the edges. So which tent's better? Well, the one that fits your needs is the better tent. If you're hiking and you're maybe doing 2 trips a year, that's only going to be for 1 or 2 nights stay. You can pick the time of year that you're going to go and what the weather might look like, what the forecast says. then something as good as the first tent that I showed you might be good enough. It might fit your needs. But if you're going on a long extended hike that you're going to be in all kinds of weather that you can't predict what it is, you're going to be in multiple seasons of the year, you need something that's reliable, something that is going to be durable for you as you travel, then you may need something like this duplex. Before you go shopping, think about what are your needs. Whatever you get, go out in your backyard, set it up, take it down, set it up, take it down. If you think that you might be out in foul weather with it, then think through, how will you set it up in the rain and in the snow? How will you take it down in the rain? Where are you going to store it so that you don't get your wet tent against all of your other gear? How are you going to pack your other gear in the rain and in foul weather? Think through those things and test it. Don't just think about it, but actually get in your tent and pretend, if you're not actually in the rain, but pretend it's raining. And how are you going to get everything in your pack and take down your tent to try to keep everything as dry as possible for as long as possible? So, what's the best tent for you? You're going to have to decide. Well, that'll do it for this video. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, stay on the path, and God bless you.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning light. I wonder if you'd wander with